Southwest Airlines continues to cancel flights as it deals with a massive holiday travel mess that stranded thousands of people nationwide.
Hey there, my name is James Lee. Welcome to my channel 5149, where I talk business, politics, and society. Today, let's talk about Southwest Airlines and the 2022 holiday travel nightmare. Was this just a series of unfortunate events, or was it a reflection of a much deeper rot at the heart of America's business culture?
Let me tell you, I am never again in my life flying Southwest.
I get it. We've all said that about basically every major airline. But unfortunately, we will inevitably, probably, most likely fly that airline again. Because while it looks like, for example, there is fairly healthy competition amongst airlines, more or less the top 4 airlines going head-to-head on equal footing. But interestingly, there's actually something fairly unique about Southwest's business strategy. They dominate secondary markets. This is data that I compiled based on what Wikipedia is calling medium hubs, meaning U.S. airports rank 29 through 64th in terms of total passenger traffic. This was kind of a shock to me, but Southwest is the largest carrier in 60% of these airports, 22 of 36. Some of these airports, they have 80, 90% of the market share. So the reality is more like, I'm never flying Southwest again, but wait, no, I have to unless I move away from my family and friends. So unfortunately for most of us, myself included, I live in a city where Southwest is about 3 times the size of the next largest airline. I'm probably gonna have to fly Southwest again. But the reaction is valid on an emotional level and on a rational level. Emotional because it's super traumatic to be stranded over Christmas at an airport, not being able to go home or see family. Rational because this isn't what we expect an airline to be able to legally do. Just throw up their hands and say, it's too bad. We know you're stuck, but we can't help you.
I'd like to bring in Paul Hudson, president of Flyers Rights. Paul, the airline industry in America, ever since Jimmy Carter deregulated it, has, from the passenger's point of view, has just gotten worse and worse and worse. Every plane is full. Whenever there is any kind of a weather emergency, there are all kinds of problems with cancellations. What do you see as the main problem? Is it that these airlines have no capacity to deal with crisis?
Well, they have no capacity because it's actually more profitable to have bad service than good service. There are no reserve requirements. There are no customer service standards of any meaningful nature. The whole idea of deregulation was that the airlines would compete to provide better service. But actually what happens today, they compete to provide more profitable but worse service.
Kind of a familiar tune. Airlines were supposed to compete to provide better service, but in practice, they compete to provide more profitable but worse service, and that is the fundamental incongruence that we need to understand about how we perceive air travel to be and how it actually functions in the US. Southwest Airlines has long been heralded by the business world as the golden goose of the airline industry. Am I using that term right? The golden goose? I think so. Anyway, here's a passage I read in business school. Southwest Airlines disrupted the industry as a low-cost carrier and soon became a model of management efficiency by lowering costs through a homogeneous fleet and a novel customer experience, specifically peanuts and entertaining flight attendants substituting for other amenities. Peanuts and entertaining flight attendants substituting for other amenities. Word for word business strategy teachings, courtesy of my world-class MBA education.
So crew scheduling, which is our heartbeat of our operation for our crews, is using technology that is not expandable to the airline we are right now. Our crews are displaced to the point where Southwest doesn't even know where they are in the system. So when we, as frontline workers, as crew that is used to doing what's necessary, want to be able to say, hey, I'm here in Kansas City. You have a flight that doesn't have flight attendants or pilots. I will work that flight. We can't get through to scheduling to say, we are able to help you solve the problem and get these people home. That kind of agility is lacking in our technology, and we have told them for years.
They don't know where their pilots are. They don't know where their crew are. Passengers are stranded. And their employees have been sounding the alarm to invest in newer IT infrastructure, and the company has ignored them for years and decades. In our crazy mixed up world, that is somehow held up as the exemplary model of management efficiency and novel customer experience.
What I don't understand is why Southwest was so particularly in what seemed to be in such a, I mean, all of these airlines were suffering and in a tough place, but they seem to be in a worse place. And is that because they didn't have their act together ahead of this in ways that the other airlines did?
I do love how CNBC feigns ignorance. What is happening at Southwest? What do you mean what's happening? What's happening is that this is behavior that has been glorified by the business community for decades. Airplanes only make money in the air, explained Kevin Freiberg, author of Nuts, Southwest Airlines' crazy recipe for business and personal success. Bill Franklin, former vice president of ground operation, and other leaders calculated 3 airplanes could do the work of 4 if the airplanes were in and out of the gate in 10 minutes. He slammed his hand on the table and bellowed out, "If you can't do it, I'll fire you and keep firing and firing until I find people who can do it," said Johnson. To accomplish the difficult assignment, Johnson and the other operations agents performed many tasks, including loading and unloading luggage, emptying waste, taking packages, and helping passengers, or a lot of multitasking. Even the flight attendants and pilots chipped in by cleaning. Southwest employees often went beyond their normal duties. By the way, this is an unironic CNBC article celebrating Southwest Airlines' bootstrapping, all hands on deck, we're all equal, we're all in the same family entrepreneurial spirit.
I have suffered through too many Southwest cult members telling me how much better this airline is, how they treat you like a real person, how everyone's equal because no one gets a seat assignment before boarding. And I just have to say it's bullshit. This whole idea that everyone should be able to drop anything at the perfect time to check into their flight is so reliant on people having schedules that are flexible enough to do that. And I'm going to put on my sociologist hat for a second to just point out that the sort of people who have the sort of flexibility and leisure time in this schedule where they can set an alarm and guarantee that they are by their phone to check in, spoiler alert, those are the people with money. Your average shift worker working at a fast food restaurant isn't going to be able to step away from the grill to be able to check into their Southwest flight, relegating them to the back of the line and relegating them to a middle seat. Tell me again how this is the more egalitarian airline?
I thought that was an interesting perspective. But the point is, airlines in the US may market themselves through branding exercises to give themselves a different personality, but they all function the same. They are all profit maximizing firms and will behave accordingly as such, extracting profits from different sources, from employees like we just read about. They can also extract profits from customers, probably the most obvious example of the day. And they can extract profits from implementing other cost-cutting measures that run up against and test the boundaries of the law. I think a lot of people get it, but just to connect the dots, this isn't a failure on Southwest. It's a systemic failure, a lot of it stemming from American culture itself. You could talk about point-to-point, you could talk about hubs, IT, or whatever technical explanations exist, but I think the crux is that we love money in America. Capital kind of rules all. We have an entrenched spirit of entrepreneurship, of business, so much so that a lot of us actively desire for the country to be run more like a business, which I would say comes at a cost. All the US airlines, not just Southwest, have been designed to run as profit maximizing firms, not utilities. Right? We talk way more about an airline's stock price than we do their on-time records. Maybe I'm stating the obvious, maybe I'm not, but if we don't want these things to happen, if we don't want to leave thousands of passengers stranded with nowhere to go, we need to think about shifting culture, shifting priorities to grapple with the fact that maybe some services are better run as utilities, which itself has pros and cons, and some are run better as businesses, and we can let those run hog wild if we want. Once we align on that, we can better level set our expectations. Or else, despite whatever investigation the DOT is going to conduct, performative or otherwise, I can guarantee nothing much will change, and these types of meltdowns will continue to be a regular occurrence. That is it for me this week. Thank you for tuning in. What do you think? Do you think airlines should be run more like utilities, or should we keep the current course and say, hey, I know there's going to be chaos from time to time, but it's better than the alternative? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. Oh, and a quick thank you for those who wished me happy holidays in the last video. I appreciate it so much. I want to say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you as well. Also, if you want to support my work, please like this video, share it, subscribe to my channel, hit the notification bell, and as always, thank you for your time today, and I'll see you next week.